Why, hello there. Second Star Right, here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. This one is regarding Plarium releasing 16 new champions for us to play with. However, they did not coincide this with a double chance summoning event. So those of us who do not open shards when there isn't an opportunity to get something really good, well, I guess we'll have to wait a little bit. That said, let's go into our index here and see what's new. First up, we have a legendary named Basilius, who looks suspiciously similar to a Royal Huntsman. I'm sure there is a lore reason for this, but I don't know what it is. But right now it's just a character model that's slightly different colors. Okay. Bolts of Scorn level 1 attacks one enemy, has an 80% chance of stealing a random buff from the target, and 80% chance of placing a block buff's debuff for one turn if the target has no active buffs. So that's kind of cool. You know, an A1 that does multiple things. I'm a big fan. His A2, Triple Puncture, attacks an enemy 3 times, ignores shield and block damage buffs, as well as doing 50% of the target's defense being ignored. That's awesome. I bet that can hit really hard. And his A3 is an AoE, 50% chance of placing a stun for one turn. So his AoE stun, it decreases each target's turn meter by 50% if the stun debuff is not placed. Okay, so even if you don't get even if you don't land the stun, you still get something good that happens. So that's good. And his stats are good, really good attack score, and a little bit of a bonus to his crit damage natively. That's good. Okay, and next up we have. Oh, it's a rare. It's the Reliquary Tender, who looks suspiciously like Spirit Host in the Dark Elves. So this is the High Elf version, I guess. I think what I would like them to do is, at least when they use the character models and just recolor them, at least change the weapon. I think the weapon gives a champion a lot of personality, you know. So I think that if they did a little bit better job of swapping that stuff out, that would make me a bit more happy with the way they use reskins. A really good A1, decreasing attack. Granted, it's the smaller version, but if you can't find a Teyla and you need that attack down, that's a good. This is just a rare, even though it's void, so a little bit harder to find. You need that attack down A1 on a character somewhere. Removes all debuffs from all allies in the A2, and then places a 50% continuous heal. That's really good. And A3 is a revive. Revives an ally with 30% hit points and fills their turn meter by 30%. And another decent thing about this champion is that while there's 9 book slots on their A1, the A2 only has 2, and the A3 only has 1. So really, that's only 12 books total if you wanted to max out the skills. And it's a rare, so it's possible that you'll get multiple copies in your travels. So this is a really strong champion. And I hope that one falls my way at some point. I'd like to learn more about this particular person. Next up, we have the Barbarians and a legendary Elder Skarg. This guy is awesome. It looks like he has the Cernic skin. Tides of Steel is A1, attacks an enemy, places a 30% increased speed buff for 2 turns if the attack is critical, places a 30% increased crit rate if the attack is not critical. So you have an A1 that does something awesome, whether it's a critical or not. The A2 attacks the enemy 3 times, places an extra hit for each buff or debuff on the target, can place up to 3 extra hits, places a HP burn for 2 turns and a True Fear debuff for 1 turn if this attack places all 3 extra hits. So there's a lot going on there in the A2. But one of the coolest things is, I think is this the first hero that we've seen the new debuff on? These came out during the Faction Wars. I remember the Faction Wars bosses use fear buffs. So this is the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But that's cool. There's a lot of stuff going on here. That's a really nice skill. Places a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 3 turns. This is the A3 now. Places a fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Places a true fear debuff for 1 turn on targets under block damage buffs. Places a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns on targets under shield buffs. These debuffs cannot be resisted. Holy cow. See, this legendary feels legendary. I'm pretty pleased. And then Kingslayer, a passive, received 15% less damage from legendary champions. Dang. And a crit rate of 30% in the arena aura. Okay. And a decent amount of hit points, a really good attack, a buffed crit damage stat. Wow. Okay. Well, whoever pulls Eldritch Guard this weekend or going forward is going to be a happy camper. All right. Also in the Barbarian group, we have Neve. Really great, intricately designed character model. I really dig it. It's so cool looking. All the attention to detail paid on the boots and the... Oh my gosh, it's just so cool looking. Really good looking character. Let's hope that her skills translate. Okay, Stupefy, or A1, attacks an enemy. Has a 40% chance of placing a sleep debuff for a turn. Has a 50% chance of granting an extra turn if placing a sleep debuff. Okay, that's cool. So if the good thing happens and you place the debuff, you get another good thing to happen. Nothing wrong with that. And also the icon has an arrow with Z's next to it, so to eliminate any doubt as to what that skill does. Okay, Slobberknocker is her A2, attacks one enemy, places a stun debuff on a target for 2 turns if the target is under a sleep debuff. Okay, well, that's cool. Nice little stun. And Stay Down, attacks an enemy. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived. That's her A3, and it's fine. I personally don't think that these skills match the awesome design of the character model, so we'll discuss that later, perhaps. And then Sawai Firstborn, man, the Barbarians, they just they don't seem to get a lot of love here. I always loved this character model. Really cool looking with the facial tattoos and the leg tattoos. Just really cool looking. Let's see what her skills do. Sawai Firstborn. Render Helpless. Attacks one enemy. Places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns if the attack kills an enemy. Places a 30% increased crit rate buff on the champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. Has a 45% chance of placing a block buff debuff for 2 turns. So if you kill them, good things can happen. If you don't kill your target, you can still have a 45% chance of placing a block buff debuff. And that can't be increased by booking. But I don't know why anyone would book this particular character anyway. A little underwhelming, I think. So far. Utter Rampage. Attacks one enemy. Attacks all enemies with a second hit if this attack is critical. Okay, we've seen this before. This hit deals 60% of the damage inflicted from the first hit. This attack will always be a normal hit. Okay, so one hit, one true hit, and then in AoE, if you crit, that deals a little bit more than half the damage, but will never crit. Okay, well, that's fair, I guess. Her A3, Deaden Reactions, attacks one enemy, but before attacking has a 50% chance of placing a weakened debuff for 2 turns. I don't think it's necessary to just give it a 50% chance. Why not give it 75 or whatever? And then you can, it's 5-turn cooldown, but you can reduce it to 4 turns with 7 books. That's never going to happen. Never going to happen. This is a poorly designed character, even with the extra 10% crit damage. Middling stats too. The hit points and attack and defense are all kind of mid-level, I think, for an epic. Speed at 96, again, a little bit. Sawai Firstborn is a bit lacking, and even though she's brand new, I would like to see her buffed. Anything else on the Barbarian side? No, it doesn't look that way. Of course, I'm wrong, because I didn't look down at the uncommons. There is Headtaker. Now, there's a funny story here that I have not actually investigated yet, but another YouTuber, I think it was Ali Al Plays, had his thumbnail for this was a photo of Rihanna, and then this in the exact same position, just photoshopped. So as if the artist just took a picture of Rihanna and, and made her look like Headtaker, which is admittedly an amazing model. Oh my god, this is so cool. Oh, look at the snakes. And all the frill and the snake design pattern on her face with the makeup and the green hair, the dreads. So cool looking. But what the heck is going on with her skills? Just carve up is just attack an enemy. Granted, this is just an uncommon, so. But still, what is this? 13 books? 12 books. That you can book 12 books into your uncommon, I guess. It's just a straight attack on the A1, and then A2 is attacks an enemy has a 50% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 20%. Decreasing turn meter is always great, but it's 4 turns, and you can put 7 books into it to give it up to a 75% chance, if that's something that you're into, to reduce something by 20%. Okay. Not too bad hit point level for an uncommon. But again, it's just a beautifully designed character, beautifully designed champion model that I don't know that anyone will actually use other than as food. But I guess that one remains to be seen. Alright, and moving on to the Ogryn tribes, there's one new model. Oh wait, this isn't the new one. This is a Cult Brawler. This came out last time. I was actually looking for someone else, wasn't I? Oh, I was looking for the Ogryn Jailer, who looks exactly like the Occult Brawler. Okay, this is just... it's a little bit lazy. It's a little bit lazy. Okay, Lockdown. Attacks an enemy, has a 40% chance of removing 1 random buff from the target. Oh, actually, I kind of like this guy's skill design, because check out the A2. Attacks an enemy, has a 40% chance of stealing 2 random buffs from the target, and place an extra set hit if any buff is stolen. Followed up by the A3, called Reprisal. Attacks 1 enemy, damage is increased by 20% if the target has no active buffs. So that's a kind of cool chain of events here. You know, you remove a random buff, you attack an enemy in a 40% chance of stealing 2 random buffs, and you place an extra hit if any buff is actually stolen, and then you follow up once you've taken all the buffs by doing extra damage if they have no buffs. So, character design aside, which is just awful, it's actually pretty cool the way they designed that. I don't know how hard it hits. I mean, the hit points are pretty low. Attack is decent. Defense is fair to midland. Speed, it's okay. So with an extra 7% crit damage, it's 57%, so it's the usual 50. But still, I personally would like to take this into a dungeon that has a lot of buffing happening, and just to see what would happen, or maybe even the arena against a buffy team. I don't know. I think that the potential is there. And they've done a pretty good job, Plarium, this go round of aligning skills that help each other rather than feeling kind of random. Next up are the Orcs. Alright, what's going on with the Orcs today? Okay, we have Aggro Hawk the Bloodied, and he is legendary, and his A1 is Sap Swiftness. Excuse me. Sap Swiftness. Ooh, say that 10 times fast. Attacks 2 times at random. Each hit has a 35% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Okay, that's kind of cool. Decreasing speed is a good thing to do. Attacks all enemies, and it hits 2 different targets. Kind of cool. Attacks all enemies on the A2. Fills the champion's turn meter by 20% for each enemy under a decreased speed buff. So like I was saying before, the A2 builds off the A1. Lord of War level 1 and the A3 attacks 1 enemy and steals the target's max turn meter. I don't know what that means, to be honest. I don't know. We'll need some clarification, I think, on that skill, because that does sound a little bit vague. I don't know of another champion that does this. If you do, comment below and let me know, educate me, because I don't know what this means. I'm assuming whatever they have, whatever their max turn is, if you get it. I don't know what immediate impact that it is for you, but I'm eager to see what that actually means. And there's a dungeon speed boost by 24% aura, which is nice. And okay, get back here. Also a 63% crit damage natively, which is kind of cool. All right, now I'm going to Teyla Gore, whose character design I like and dislike. I love the sword, so cool looking. I mean, look at that, he's got that black schmutz kind of seeping around it like a Rorschach's mask and Watchmen. You definitely get hit by that, you're gonna want to apply some Bactine. Okay, so, but I don't know if she looks totally legendary to me or not. Everything kind of blends in. They don't really have a lot of defining characteristics. The blades everywhere are kind of cool, if maybe uncomfortable to walk around in. But let's see what the skills are. Hex Drinker Scimitar. Okay, there we go. Making a call to the best part of the character design. I like that. Attacks an enemy, steals a random buff from the target, and the damage is based on hit points, which is cool. You don't see too much of that, and that can be devastating when geared with that in mind. And Pyre Strike, the A2, attacks one enemy, places a HP burn debuff for 2 turns, places a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns if the attack is critical. Okay, so that's cool. A 4-turn cooldown, and you can book it for extra damage. On the A1 is you can book it 5 times. The A1, the A3, Life Worm. Oh, I like that. Attacks all enemies, so AoE has 85% chance of placing a leech and 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. That's cool. Damage based on hit points again. Leech and heal reduction, and you can, if you put 6 books into her, you can get that into 4 turns. That is super cool. I like her kit. That is very, very entertaining to me. Alright, moving on to the Demon Spawn. They added an uncommon called Vile Spawn. It was pretty cool looking. Pretty typical female Demon Spawn model, but with a mask. It's kind of sweet. Interesting skills, though. Hellblight attacks an enemy and has a 5% chance of placing a 25% decreased attack. So it's the low version with a low chance. But 8 books later, you can get that debuff chance up to 30%. I don't know why you would do that, but if you wanted to, that's an option. And then Flesh Knit heals an ally by 10% of their max hit points. So, in that, it can also be booked 6 times. So, wow, for a massive, let me see that, 10%. Okay, so you can do a pretty big heal if you book it. This seems like a reminder that Plarium is owned by a gambling company, and they want to monetize every single thing, and books are hard to come by, but you can buy them, and so if you don't know any better, you could, I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit cynical, but this seems like a money grab to me. But isn't everything? The word late stage capitalism. Okay, so Undead Hordes. There are new dudes in here. Okay, so first of all, we have the Defiled Sinner. I like dual wielding. He's got his 2 swords. It's nice. Murderous Craft attacks an enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns before attacking. If 5 or more enemies are alive, does the following attack instead. Attacks all enemies, places a 25% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns before attacking. That's super cool. So he changes his attack based on whether he's attacking one or a large group. So if you had the opportunity to AoE and you would rather AoE, he will AoE. That's really sweet. Ripe for Slaughter is A2 on a 4-turn cooldown, attacks an enemy, then attacks all enemies, inflicting additional damage equal to 15% of their max hit points if the first hit kills an enemy. The second hit can't be critical. Okay, well, that's cool. It seems complicated to use. Not complicated, but like on auto, I can see the AI being really AI dependent to do the right thing. And okay, so A3, 6 turns, you can get it down if you book it after 5 turns. Attacks all enemies. Damage increases by 10% for each enemy alive. Stacks up to 100%. So immediately you're thinking spiders, right? Immediately you're thinking spiders. But he's Force, and that's an opposite affinity for Spider's 20. So have fun using this guy, except on your spirit levels, because he won't do any good. What are you going to do, I guess? The other dude they added is evidently Gore Grab's brother. Or maybe this is Gore Grab and he was like painting his torture lair and got some yellow paint on him because he looks pretty much exactly the same. Again, let's just change the weapons. Change the weapons out. I mean, if it's part of your asset catalog, I mean, it doesn't look like it's part of the... I mean, they're kind of floating by his hands. I think it'd be easy enough to swap the weapons out just to give a little bit more distinction, because that's just kind of poor design, if you ask me. But let's see what he does. His A1 attacks an enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. And that's called Soul Manacles. Alright, and look, and it has a picture of the weapons that I was just complaining about. Okay. Might of Undeath, and is A2, places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn. Okay, also places a 30% increased crit rate buff and a 60% increased defense on allies for 2 turns. Okay, alright, so that's like a Spirit Host on steroids. Winds of Purging is his A3, removes all debuffs from all allies. Again, very Spirit Hosty. Then heals all allies by 10% of this champion's max hit points. Heals each ally by further 10% if 1 or more debuffs are removed from that ally. Fills each ally's turn meter by 15% if 2 more debuffs are removed from the ally. So he's super strong A3. I like that a lot. He's actually got a really nice kit. I dig it. I would not be upset. I don't know yet where I would use him in my team composition, but I can see, on levels where you want a healer, that he would be a pretty good one. I hope that I get him soon. I want to test him out. Alright, and continuing in the undead theme, and then down here we have a Ghoulish Ranger, who, again, looks very similar to our friend Hollow. I guess they must be undead brothers in arms. He's cooler looking, I think. I like the burning inside. You know, he died in the fire. Sorry about that. Okay, so his A1 is a numbing arrow. Attacks 1 enemy, has a 35% chance of placing a 25% decreased accuracy buff for 2 turns. Places an extra hit if the target is under a decreased accuracy debuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but decreased accuracy is like the least desired of the debuffs that we can get on a champion. Tell me if I'm undervaluing this. I would really want to know, because whenever I see a decreased accuracy hero, I'm like, ugh. I get all kind of exasperated. So if there's an unforeseen benefit that I'm just not seeing, explain it to me. I would like to know. A2, Foul Festering. Attacks 1 enemy, has a 45% chance of placing a Leech debuff for 2 turns. I really like Leech in a long fight. And his A3, Crypt Fire. Attacks 3 times at random. Has a 30% chance of placing HP burn debuff for 2 turns. You know, I like that we've seen a lot of new heroes with HP burn, and even though in practical purposes it's not as good as poison, most of the time I think clan boss when I think HP burn, because that's where it has the most obvious effect. And it seems like because poisons will stack and HP burn doesn't, that poisons end up being the better choice if you had a choice between buffs. So be that as it may, again, if you have an alternate opinion on this or can school me on that topic, I'd actually appreciate it. Middling stats, I'm not too impressed. I guess he's just a rare, so I guess that's probably why. Yeah, he's just a rare. 57% crit damage is the only thing that really sticks out to me on this particular dude. Alright, now dwarves. Alright, we have a really cool one here. Gala Longbraids. She's so awesome looking. Oh, badass. Oh, I hope I can say that. Really nice character design. And a cool kit, too. She is an attack character, but her Brutal Bludgeoned A1 attacks an enemy 2 times. Each hit ignores 30% of the target's defense, places a shield on the champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to 20% of the damage inflicted. That's just cool, and you can book it 3 times for an extra 15% damage. Fearless Aggression on her A2 attacks an enemy, ignores 50% of the target's defense when attacking under a shield buff, which you're going to be getting from A1. Heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted. Places a shield buff on the champion equal to any surplus heal. So a shield plus more shields if you overheal. That's awesome. A3 attacks an enemy 3 times. Each hit ignores 25% of the target's defense. Grants an extra turn if the champion has full HP after using this skill. This is just cool. The design, the way the skills cascade, like we saw on that Ogrin Jailer. It's cool. I like this design. Plus, her being attack based, it's going to be neat to try to manipulate those shields to work right. And she's got decent stats. The defense is really low, so I guess she's going to need those heals. 60% crit damage, which is kind of cool. So another well-designed character. Thank you, Plarium. I appreciate that. And the design's good. Kit design's good. Epic. And feels epic. That's a good one. There is one more, the Perforator, which I think is this guy with the hat. Okay, so I don't know how he's going to aim his crossbow. There's two tiny eye holes, but hey man, if Royal Guardsman and the new legendary can do it, then I guess he can do it too. Vermin Slayer attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff. Nothing wrong with poison on A1, especially on a rare. That's pretty cool. Hardened Tips, his A2, attacks one enemy, ignores 50% of the target's defense, grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy. And then a passive, 2-turn passive, this is A3, called Scare Off, has a 5% chance of placing a fear debuff on the target for 1 turn when the champion inflicts a critical hit. So again, a fun kit, a fun rare to play with. We'll probably get a ton of them as we play. Not bad attack stats. Everything else is kind of real slow. Oh my gosh, 86. This guy is running in molasses. We all know, dwarves are natural sprinters, right? 57% crit damage, so a little bit of a boost over the 50% there, and a 45% resist, which is a bit more than I think we usually see, but what have you. Okay, now there is one more common in Dark Elves, I think. I guess we needed another common for some reason. Kind of cool looking. I like the character model. Again, it's the same. It's just a copy of another one. So from High Elves. So what are you gonna do? So I guess overall, I like what they've done. They have some really good, the way that they've integrated skills and used them, so they don't feel so random. They build on one another. A lot of them do, and I think they've done a really good job with that. What I don't like is a lot of the new champions require more books. I feel like they require, or not. Of course, they don't require books, but have, before you can max out a character's skills, there's a lot of books involved, and I kind of feel that is a little egregious, since books are so hard to come by, unless you want to pay for them. Also, I think there's some little bit of laziness in the character design, in the reskinning. Now, I imagine that they have tens of thousands of assets in their asset catalog, and since even though I'm playing on desktop, it's awesome. I love the desktop version. This is originally mobile, and so they're probably still thinking about how a lot of their player base has some space restrictions, maybe, and I don't know how much is stored server side. I don't know how much is stored client side, if anything, or how much, or how the architecture works. I'm sure they have people juggling that, but I wish that they would be better with their reskinning, make even a little bit more unique. I mean, those two legendaries in High Elves, the Royal Guardsman and the new one, the Basilius, Rowanus, and Royal Huntsman, that's too similar. For legendaries, it's too much. It's too much. Now, if there's a lore reason for that, write out the lore. I'm sure that all these major companies have a lore master that keeps track of why everything is, and it would be cool if they released some of this information, so at least we have another reason other than the character designer just wanted to hit some color filters and be done for the night. I don't know. I think that if they released some lore, a lot of these games have fantastic backstories that we don't even know yet. I mean, like World of Warcraft, as they leaked out they're built on their story throughout the years. It was awesome. Destiny's lore is actually really cool if you read about it. And I think that this game universe has a lot of potential, and I think that they should let us in on a little bit of it. I mean, I did some searching and I found some stuff on Dark Aethel, which was cool, but I want more. Okay, so make that happen, Plarium. I like where you're going. Let's keep going on. All right, guys, thank you for this long journey. I appreciate it. I gotta go pick up my kids. Whoops. No, I'm still good. I'm on time. I gave myself some cushion. But like, comment, and subscribe if you feel the desire to do so, because I sure would appreciate it. All right, thank you, and I'll see you next time.